Hello, Anna Sabramowitz here from eLearner Engaged, and I want to talk to you about stock photography. Now, before I get to the stock photography though, I just wanted to point out something here. See this right here? It's a pear. I painted it. I did. Yeah. It's one of those things that looks really good from far away, as far as I'm concerned. Then when you get up close, you're like, wow, what a mess. I like that kind of stuff. Anyways, lots of things are like that, aren't they? Anyways, so the reason I'm talking about stock photography is because I think language, body language, is very important. And one of the things I noticed, like let's say when I'm looking at scenarios developed by Michael Allen, he really understands that as human beings, and I'm always going back to this, we really are creatures. We are animals, and we seek to use, rationality as much as we want to. However, on that gut, reptile, monkey brain level, there's still so many little things going on, trying to decide friend or foe, good or bad. And body language is huge in this respect. And so what Michael Allen does is he realizes we are drawn to faces, we are drawn to people, and he puts them in wherever he can. It's as contextual, of course, but he realizes that this is important. And it's important. And we are drawn to it because if you look at a cloud, you see a face, it's almost like you're automatically drawn to make a face out of some random pattern. So we are face pattern seeking types of creatures. And we do interpret the things that we hear through the lens of the body language that it comes through. And so one of the things I was thinking is, how do we solve this problem where I see still a lot of e-learning, a lot of these modules being developed with static characters or over-exaggerated characters? And, how do you overcome that? Because there are places, and still very few, which is surprising to me, that put together really good stock photography of real human beings, but human beings that also have nuanced bodily expressions. So for me, if somebody's, we're still doing scenarios and things like that where we're being extremely blatant with the kinds of feelings that people have, which I find in a way almost insulting. What you want to do is add a bit of nuance, because I think that true learning comes from reading and being able to determine that nuance. So if a customer, let's say you're having customer service training, and somebody is saying something to you and you respond, and they never react the way that we're told in these explicit consequences, which is to go over the top and basically act like a crazy person, right? If you've seen them, they're like mad. They're doing things that nobody does except in their living room by themselves when they've had too much to drink, right? So one of the things I was thinking is, how do you either source assets that show that nuance, have software where that is actually represented, where these minutia movements that either show interest, like leaning in, or something like this, even though the face hasn't changed, my body has, there's a different feeling that's happening. And those are the things that build soft skills. Those are the things that build good sales skills and emotional intelligence. So one of the tools that I use is e-learning art. I'm not promoting e-learning art in any way, but it's really one of the few places where you pay a yearly subscription and you do get a plethora, sometimes like 200 poses per person. And sometimes all they do is just shift. And that shift can sometimes be the kind of consequence that you want, because the shift is somebody still not deciding to trust you. It's not this. A shift is just, I'm still thinking. So imagine in sales training, that makes a big difference, especially if what you're doing is you're trying to, create a sales scenario with no video. Like you're basically just showing a shift. And I remember one of the developers, actually it was Ryan, I was working with, Ryan Martin. We were working on this module that had to do, the scenario was with a clinical setting. And the nurse was she was asking you a question on the screen. And while she was asking you, she was doing this. And then if you answered wrong, this is all she did. That's it. But you knew that she wasn't proud of you at that moment. And it is these little details that make all the difference. So I'm thinking, one, invest in really good images if you're going to use them as far as people go. E-learning arts, one. I'm sure there's others. I'm sure some people, if they're watching this, they'll probably share that. The other thing I'm thinking is, if you want people that are representative of your company, don't be afraid to just set up a day, set some good lighting, and just take a ton of pictures. Even if you hire a photographer for $150, that's cheaper than buying all those, buying a subscription. Then you can pay somebody, after you have all those pictures in a black background, and you just have 300 poses of somebody just being normal and talking and doing things. Now you can go to a site like Fiverr or Upwork, and for $30 you can have them all cut out. And now you have all these wicked images you can use at any time. They represent your people. They're normal. They can be still overacting, but only when you want them to. It is not the default. So what are some resources that you've been using? What do you think about the idea of that nuance? Do you like it, or do you think it's overkill? And also, if you have any resources that you're using that you found that are useful and that just really emphasize the idea of reading body language, I'm not just, a lot of it is from up here, but we get to see a whole person when we're talking to them. We get to see the foot shift. And so I think that's, if you have resources that share that kind of stuff, and or resources where you actually can source that's what I mean, where you can source these really good images that reflect a human being in its entirety, please share those in the comments below. I'd love to hear more about how you're using them, where you have found them impactful, and maybe if there's some DIY options that you've used that have worked for you. So I'll see you next time, friend. Take care.